Where the Art Is. Chapter 1. Overture in A Lydian. Movement 1. Andante e Pointé. The following story is a translation of an old manuscript, discovered in the buried remains of an old archive. It was found in the remains of an old library, and despite some of the stone around it having been charred, the following account had survived without so much as being singed. The archaeologists responsible for the discovery suspect magic may have been at play, but so far no one has been able to either confirm or deny this claim. Moreover, the original author has left footnotes in the margins of his work. Not unheard of, yes, but a discovery that makes my hystrophilic heart pound all the same. Materials are ink on paper, wrapped in leather, date of authorship pinpointed at roughly 1850 Anno Communis. Many phrases and terms have been localized to more clearly convey the original author's intent and to introduce their writing to a new generation. Without further ado, take it away.
So, wait, let me see if I got this right. I said slowly, as my eyes darted between the bemused faces of my travel companions. The four of us were sitting around the campfire, as the night had drained all distinctive landmarks from the environment, bar from a tree line to one side, and on the other, a single spire at the edge of the horizon. You guys were invited to dine with this lady. A rude lady, Violet interjected, the flickering light shining across her dress.
Which, despite my best effort, had once again been covered in black fur.
And making her purple hair shine like it was on fire. Yes, a rude, noble woman, I retorted, not knowing whether I should be impressed or exasperated by her blasé attitude. And not only did you give lip, I turned to Larry, the largest of my companions, my skepticism at his tall tale undoubtedly evident in my eyes. You also decided to court her daughter? In response, the imposing half-dragon just shrugged. You can't deny it wasn't effective. You should have seen the look on her face once I told her that I had. I don't believe you, I laughed mirthfully. No way! Yes way, Larry chuckled, a deep, bassy sound that I could feel reverberate in my core. But, I sputtered, turning towards Althea, the last member of our little quartet, who was sat in front of me and had purposefully stayed out of our discussion. A noble? Well, she said thoughtfully, her blue eyes staring past me into the night. We're not sure if she was a noble per se. How so? I asked. My interest piqued. Well, there's a difference between a capital L lady and a regular lady. She turned her attention towards the fire, prodding the smoldering wood and making white-hot cinders fly up into the air. I think Larry just meant the latter. I don't know, the half-dragon said. Lord Larry. I like the sound of that. More like Lord Sugar, baby, Violet teased, causing Larry to huff. You take that back. It wasn't long after that the conversation devolved into simple mudslinging, my two companions completely enraptured by this curious sort of game they liked to play. It reminded me of home, and of some of the siblings that had lived in Othrend alongside me. Briefly, a wave of fond nostalgia washed over me, before a pang of uneasiness tied my stomach into a figure eight. For the briefest of moments, my face fell, and my sight grew foggy with tears. Then, as suddenly as I had dropped control, I pulled myself together. plastering a slanted smile on my face whilst using the tiniest sliver of magic to wipe the tears from my eyes. On the other side of the fire, Althea froze mid-broth, keeping her eyes squarely on the dancing flames now engulfing her improvised gaff. I think it's time I go to sleep, I announced, yawning theatrically.
Which may or may not have caused a few of my companions to have to yawn as well.
And maneuvering myself into my bedroll. As had become habit at this point, I grabbed my leather case from behind me, snuggling it like a teddy bear, and tried to close off the relentless bickering happening behind me, before finally drifting to sleep. That night, I dreamt of my mother, remembering her more clearly than I had in years. There I was, cradled in her strong arms as she rocked gently. Her voice was rough and husky, as if she was just returning from a 6 hour long cantate, but she sang my lullaby all the same. It was a haunting sort of sound, but tranquil as well, like a deep river cutting through a shallow ravine. I can't have been much older than 3. At some point, my grubby little hands managed to snatch some of her graying hair, taking the strand between my teeth and suckling on it like the world's least hygienic pacifier. With heavy eyelids, I looked up at her, and as her brown eyes met mine, I realized she had been crying. Then I woke up. You can know a lot about a person by what they do first thing in the morning. For some people, it's running. Most of the time, this just means they're a disciplined sort of person.
This is, of course, unless it's New Year's, in which case it most likely just means that the person in question actually believes in the power of New Year's resolutions.
For other people, it's getting dressed. As for me, I wake up at first light.
Probably a consequence of being raised inside of an abbey all my life. Although it doesn't hurt that Larry's snoring tends to wake me up even before that.
I untangle myself from my bedroll, taking great care not to damage my case's precious cargo, stretching my back for crouching down to click open the brass clasps. Lifting the top of the case, I slowly take out my instrument, an extremely well-tended wooden viola, no larger than the length of my arm. Its solid spruce resonance chamber betrays a deceptively light carrying weight, and the graceful curve of the sycamore scroll reveals the mark of a master craftsman.
Try saying that one 5 times fast.
The accompanying bow had been built after my design as well, as I found its stubbier contemporaries limiting when playing cantabile, though the inverted curvature had been my luthier friend's idea. All in all, my instrument had served me well over the years, and had gotten me out of more than a few tight spots. By the time I have tightened the bow hairs and cleaned the stick, I'll usually only have a few moments to attach the chin rest,
What can I say? I'm a traditionalist when it comes to letting certain hard, pointy things come near my neck.
and clasp my enchanted, heavy-duty sordino around the bridge.
Another gift from a friend. Remind me to describe it to you in more detail someday.
Then, as the sun leaps from the horizon and rises into the sky, I begin to play. So too did I begin my day this morning, my cold fingers leaping up and down the fingerboards as the restless pats of my fingers caressed the smooth ebony fingerboard in an interpretive dance. My entire body moved along, each pizzicato quarter note growing in tempo and intensity until finally dying out with a single held note, played arco in the fourth position of the highest string, that I turned back towards the campfire and came face to face with the settlement previously shrouded in the impenetrable darkness of night. And as I stared unblinkingly at the looming visage, the grand Gothic church of Othrend, I took the sordino off of my instrument, clutching it and rubbing my fingers over its worn surface. I whispered a breathy prayer addressed to no being in particular, and added, "Welcome home. Agapito pedi. Welcome home."